This program is a paid commercial announcement and in no way represents the views of WPHT or its management.
Now on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, WPHT HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor.
If we don't move in our own direction, we're going to become extinct. In fact, in some cases, we're close to being extinct right now.
Presented by Weinerman Pain and Wellness, serious doctors for serious injuries, and powered by the law offices of Pond, Lehocky, Stern, Giordano. Talk, listen, and speak to the region's most influential leaders. It's Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor.
Saturday Night Live in the Delaware Valley, right here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. A good Saturday evening, everybody, and welcome in to Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor, all presented by Weinerman Pain and Wellness, powered by Pond, Lehocky, Stern, and Giordano, fueled by our good friends at the Sonesta Hotel, where every month we do our labor leader roundtable. We're driven by Jim Stevenson and our good friends at Chapman Ford, and we welcome back Teledoc, who is back partnering with Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor as we come to you on the first weekend during the month of June. It's that time as we start to focus in on the summer of 2018. We've got a dynamic show for you tonight. Before I introduce everybody who is in studio with me live tonight, I do want to shout out, if I can, to my partner J-Doc, who will not you will not hear J-Doc on the radio show tonight here on 1210. Perhaps he's listening from his hospital room at Lankenau, recovering after going into surgery yesterday. And we send him good regards, and we hope he enjoys the show. He gets an opportunity to listen to the show instead of participate in the show, and we hope J-Doc enjoys the broadcast. Frank, what do you think?
I agree. I talked to Joe today. Joe, thanks for having us, first of all.
No, my pleasure, man.
And I talked to Joe Doc today, and he sounds good, and his spirits are upbeat, and I think he's going to be back at nightclubs in no time.
Nah, sounds good. Frank is Frank Halbherr. He's the president of DC 33 Local 1637. He's part of the broadcast with me tonight, but also in the studio, three members of Local 1637. Am I correct in saying that, right? But three very different backgrounds, very different experiences that occur on a daily basis as they go to work. Nicole White, who's the recording secretary for Local 1637, is a 911 dispatcher. Nicole spends all of her work days under what I would consider a high-pressure environment. Darnell Davis is with us in studio. Darnell is the Secretary Treasurer of Local 1637. Darnell is a correction officer, and Darnell goes to work on a daily basis in an environment that I would consider certainly dangerous as a way to describe what Darnell does for a living on a daily basis. And then Ken Giacini is with us in the studio as well. Ken is an executive board member for Local 1637. And is a ticket writer in the city of Philadelphia. And I would imagine abused is a word that perhaps you are forced to deal with. So we're going to meet Nicole, Darnell, and Ken throughout this next hour, Frank, and I want to thank you for bringing everybody in. And I hope, my hope is that by the time the show concludes tonight on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT, the listening audience has a real understanding for the three different dynamics, the three different individuals, and the challenges that they deal with on a daily basis. And then I also want to get you to weigh in, and I want to talk about Janice. It's a topic of discussion that we've covered. The Janice case, a decision is expected. The decision perhaps will not be in favor of unions, and I want to give you the forum and give you the opportunity to start the dialogue tonight, Frank, and weigh in on this upcoming decision.
Yeah, Joe, the Janice case is in the hands of the Supreme Court justices. It's basically, the argument is, should fair share fee payers pay dues to the union for the management of the union and representation of the union? The gentleman backed by right-wing conservatives who's bringing this case is basically saying it's violating its First Amendment rights, his free speech. But again, this is not one gentleman. This is backed by very wealthy right-wing people. None of the money that goes to public sector unions goes into political campaign and political action. There's a people program where we ask every member if they want to donate specifically to political action. It's their choice. Union dues go to the running of the union and representation for our members and collective bargaining.
Frank, if the Supreme Court rules against public sector unions and rules in favor of Janus, and this comes out against public sector unions, what does that mean?
Well, first of all, it means fair share fee payers will not be paying any fee to the unions that represent them and negotiate their contracts for them.
So even though they're going to receive the benefit of a contract negotiation, they're going to receive the benefit that the unions provide in terms of that umbrella of protection. They're not going to have to pay for that. Is that? I just want to make sure we're
That is
accurate.
absolutely correct, Joe. They will enjoy the fruits of their brothers and sisters' labor in layman's terms. There should be no free rides. We're all in this together. The core of unions is brothers and sisters looking out for brothers and sisters. And for a small fee to get the benefits that we get and we enjoy, I think everybody should be on board. But again, this is political, as we know. It's the destroying of unions and destroying of the middle class, in my opinion.
Frank, what's the mood within your union? You're the president of DC 33 Local 1637, and we have three members that I introduced at the top of the show, which we'll get into conversation with them as the show rolls on. But what do you feel the mood is? What do you feel the role is? What do you feel is the chemistry within the members?
Honestly, Joe, we have spoke. Me and each one of these people here have spoke to all members about the importance of this case. In 2018, I'm not sure how many people know the history of labor, or I hate to say this, or care about the history of labor and what it means. I mean, we all sitting at this table know the history in labor, and I mean, you look at sick time. No one woke up. No mayor of a city woke up and said, "Let's give these people sick time." This was negotiated. People gave their lives for this, and unions have argued for these benefits. So as far as members go, I'm not sure if they get the importance of it. Real quick, Wisconsin, 2011, Governor Scott Walker. This went through the State House. There was nobody out there. It got passed, destroyed collective bargaining in Wisconsin. You had 30,000 working people out on the steps of the State House. Well, it was too late. It goes back to politics. We got to get ahead of the curve instead of be proactive instead of reactive. And I think that's where we find ourselves. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what a month from now holds. We are preparing the best we can, but we do not know. We're going to have to be flying by the seat of our pants here and see what happens.
The ruling is expected to come down in June, which is as we come on here the first weekend of the month. It's the Supreme Court will now rule. The ruling was temporarily derailed when Justice Scalia passed away in his passing, and it ended, I guess it ended in a 4-4 draw or a 4-4 tie, so there was no finalization of it. And now with Justice Gorsuch in place, the Supreme Court will not only hear it, but will also issue a ruling. And again, the expectation or the anticipation perhaps is that the public sector unions will record a loss before the Supreme Court. What does that mean? We're in a union town. Philadelphia is a union town. We're a strong union community in the city of Philadelphia. I always ask listeners to close their eyes for a moment and imagine what it would be like without unions, and imagine what it would be like when there's urgency, or there's an emergency, or there's a need that comes up, or there's a cemetery where stones are toppled and turned over. And unions are quick to come. Unions are quick to be at the center point. I think of the All-Star Labor Classic, 31 years strong, $3 million to United Cerebral Palsy, under the radar. not talked about, not referenced. And I always feel as though the union community gets the short end of the stick. And my hope is that the anticipated loss before the Supreme Court does not create a scenario where you get what you wish for and then there's no return.
Joe, you're absolutely right. And when you talked about reaching back to the community, and the All-Star Classic, great stuff. No pub. Local 1637, I mean, not on the scale that's on, but we have donated to numerous youth organizations across this city. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. And second, because we are their neighbors. We are city dwellers. We are row home dwellers. We're people's neighbors. We're their coaches. We're the people sitting next to them in church. And I think maybe unions maybe lost their way there of giving back to the community. And, I mean, again, get a little PR out of it that we are in the community and we are helping out. And we, like I said, we have donated to numerous organizations, especially on the youth end, because, I mean, the youth are the future. And in the city of Philadelphia, kids need something to do.
Settle in and enjoy our show tonight. It is Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor as we come to you on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Frank Halbherr, the president of DC 33 Local 1637, is in studio. When we come back after our first commercial break, we're going to introduce you to Nicole White. She's a 911 dispatcher, and her days are filled, and I mean filled, with high pressure. Back in a moment.
I won't participate on behalf of ourselves here at Local 98 or the Philadelphia Building Trades in conversations that are purely dominated on social issues that don't affect our jobs.
Back here live on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, a good Saturday evening, Delaware Valley. We certainly thank you for tuning in here on a Saturday night. And again, we send good wishes along to J-Doc, who perhaps is listening from his hospital room or his hospital suite at Lankenau. J-Doc, do get well, and we hope you'll join us next week back here live every Saturday from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Frank Halber's in the studio with me tonight. He is the president of DC 33 Local 1637. And then, as you heard when we first came on the air, I introduced three members of Local 1637 who we're going to introduce and we're going to spend some time with. We're going to do it in individual segments because I think each one of the individuals who are with us in studio tonight really are, although collectively together, have very different jobs and very different experiences on a daily basis. Nicole White, we're going to introduce you first to Nicole. Hello, Nicole. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Nicole, as I mentioned, is the recording secretary for Local 1637, and she is also a 911 dispatcher. And I referenced high pressure, Nicole, because I certainly understand the severity and the responsibility that goes into being a 911 dispatcher, but I'd love for you, in your words, to be able to share that with our listening audience.
First, I want to say thank you to my coworkers for all the hard work they do around the clock, all three shifts. So thank you to my brothers and sisters.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Yes. I've been a dispatcher for almost 17 years. October will be 17 years. I work the swing shift, so 7 a.m. to 3 and then 3 to 11, and it switches every 2 weeks, which that's stressful in itself. So we take, in an 8-hour tour, I can take approximately 150 to 200 calls when I do work a 911 line. And after my years of experience, I've been on the other side, which is just dispatching. I've dispatched for a while in a very busy division, which is Southwest Division, south near the airport, and southwest of Market Street, from like 30th Street to 69th Street border, which is a very high crime area. After years of dispatching, I've moved to the operations desk, which covers like the whole city of any founded assignment, basically. And once that happens, when there's a founded assignment, I have to talk to all commanders and let them know what happened, making notifications. and make sure they're aware of what happened, because once it hits the media and they don't know what happens, it's quite embarrassing.
When you say, when you reference the number of calls on not a day, but on a shift,
Right.
That's a high number. Every single call, Nicole, has a completely different set of circumstances.
Right.
Yes?
Yes. Every call is not actually a call. Some can be cranks, some can be kids playing, some can be like just a pocket dial. But some are real jobs, and some can be an accident. An accident on a highway could be like 50 calls at one time, and several dispatchers are getting the same call, but you have to take it at face value. You can't just say, oh, the police will be out, they're coming as soon as possible, because it could be something different. One person can say, it's a 2-car accident, and the other person can say, well, that one person is trapped, and the first person didn't say that, so you have to expedite people there because that person is trapped. So that's life-threatening. So each dispatcher, they have to ask the same questions. That's the same protocol. You may get a different answer from the next caller. The third caller could be so excited, they're just saying it's an accident, or they could be involved, So each call is different. You have to take it at face value.
Frank?
Joe, I've been fortunate enough to stop in on a Friday, Saturday night and sit in with our brothers and sisters in 911 dispatch. And I know I'm showing my age here, but I consider them the Fonzie of public services. They're cool. And again, most young people don't know who Fonzie is. But I sit in there, and the transmission, it's jumping, lines are jumping, the officers need help, and our brothers and sisters are true professionals. It's amazing how cool under fire they are. And again,
how do you do it, Nicole? How do you stay so cool? How do all of the dispatchers in that environment manage to be able to keep their cool?
Actually, honestly, I mean, everyone's not cut out for the job. I won't lie. Everyone can't do it. You have to be able to multitask. There's sometimes they call it a fat night, which a fat night is when every cop almost in the city of Philadelphia is working, which one division, which consists of 2 districts, can have approximately 200 cops on the street, possibly, and they're all coming over, swarming, asking you for. Drop me numbers like DC numbers for, I just did a car stop. I just did a ped stop investigation. Or, I'm finished my report. Can you drop my numbers? I'm going to headquarters. Turn me around. Somebody else is saying, it's just so fast. It's multitasking. I'm used to it. At first, when I first started, I won't lie, you're very nervous. And then one day it'll click. It just clicks. And you have it. So I can sit there and do my thing, read a book, and all of a sudden an officer can come over and say, foot pursuit, and I got it. Drop my book, and I have it. I'm there.
Well, there never could be a time, Nicole, when you don't have it, because if you don't, that's where the potential pitfall would be, yes?
Right. We have supervisors, though, that monitor us, so they know during the training period, they monitor, basically, they're supposed to monitor weekly, and then monthly you get evaluations, so they know when you can't handle the job, where you need work on, if they have to send you back to retraining. Sometimes the retraining has to be done more often, I think, personally. But they know. And you have, once you get out of your 8-week training course, they send you in the room here. The 8-week training is a different location, but they send you to our main building at 8th and Race, and you're there for like 4 months. So you're with a veteran dispatcher. You work with them. So, and then the last month, you go solo to see how you can do the job.
Under fire,
right?
Under fire, under pressure,
right? Exactly.
Pardon the pun, but I mean, under the pressure of the day as it unfolds in real time.
Correct. Yes.
We're giving you a look inside tonight on Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor. A look inside DC 33 Local 1637. Nicole White is our guest for this segment, a 911 dispatcher, as Nicole said, 17 years now, 18. Is it going to be 18?
We'll be 17, October.
It will be 17 years.
Yes.
In the month of October. That's a lot of stories, Nicole. That's a lot of experiences. Is there one or two or 5 or 10 or 100? I'll take one of 100 that was unusual or that was that you can reflect on to give our audience a better segment of, or a better look inside?
Well, paying attention. One where I saved a life. I think I saved a life. Our mapping system, where a gentleman had called and said that he was depressed, and he had an argument with his father. He didn't want to live anymore, and he said he wanted to jump from a bridge, and he wouldn't give me a location, and he was kind of whispering. So I happened to just look at the map, and I seen water. He would not give me a location. I just kept asking, and he was just like, call my mother and tell her that I love her. So I'm just asking, where are you at? Where are you at? What's your name? Yada, yada. So finally, I just put a job in of the closest location I thought he would be at because I seen water. And sure enough, the police went there and they did find him, and they got him off the bridge.
And you were able to keep him
on the phone, yes, talking to him.
Keep him there.
Trying to find out what he did that made him so upset, and let him know it wasn't his fault. He's just having a bad day. I can call his dad if he'd like, things like that of that nature.
Frank, the enormity of that is amazing to me because there is no ability to think other than on your feet, spur of the moment. You need to be able to react, and that's an example and a great accolade that the workers deal with a lot.
Absolutely. That we're not trained at. You're not trained for that.
Absolutely, though, Joe. Like Nicole said, not everybody's cut out for that job. I couldn't do that job. I'm a tow truck driver by trade. I might blow someone's transmission out by making a mistake, but she just told a story about life and death. That could be every call or any call that comes in. And again, that's where the pressure comes in at. And for Philadelphia to know, if you got an issue and you call 911 here, you're in great hands. I can guarantee that.
Nicole, is it safe to assume that every call, the first thought about every single call is it's real?
Oh, yes, definitely. You have to take every call at face value. Even kids. There's a lot of kids, it's 2018. They like to play. When school's out, we're like, the calls are going to double. They play. And they'll say, make up stories, but you have to still ask questions to make sure. And then, ask where your mom, where's your dad, are you there alone? And then, you have to decipher. But if they're just playing or they scream, you have to put it in as a priority. A juvenile screaming inside, and send the police out there, and they have to determine whether it's real or not. We just take every call at face value and let the officer decide what it is.
Nicole White joining us here in the studio, a 911 dispatcher. Congratulations on reaching year number 17.
Thank you.
And for all of the lives or for all of the people that you've saved, most you'll never know, Nicole, we say publicly. Right here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT, we say thank you.
Thank you.
We'll get to a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to transition to Darnell Davis, who is a correction officer. We'll meet Darnell when we come back.
I believe there's room, for the national building trades, the local building trades, to have partnerships with the Trump administration as it pertains to energy, as it pertains to infrastructure, as it pertains to the undocumented worker.
And back here live on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT on a Saturday night in the Delaware Valley. We thank everybody for tuning in and being a part of Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor. Take a moment to shout out to CWA District 2 and District 13 District Vice President Ed Mooney, who threw some major support behind Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor. And I'm looking forward to getting Ed in studio, but a big thanks to Ed from the CWA as we roll along here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Frank, before I bring Darnell into the discussion, it is amazing to hear and to listen to Nicole in that in our previous segment. And you get to see it on a daily basis because you have the ability to communicate with all of your members. But it really is an amazing feat. When Nicole says 17 years or approaching 17 years in October, in real time, perhaps that might be 25 or 30 years of real life experience. I would venture to say.
Absolutely. With the pressure in that job, as with the 3 jobs that our people here representing tonight, they have to go the extra mile. It's not no ordinary gig. You go into your 8 and skate, every day holds something different with these 3 people. It's amazing.
We take a lot of things in this world for granted. 911 is one of those things that we take for granted, that the individual on the other end of the line, when there's an emergency, is going to be, in your words, cool, in your words, calm, but the end result is what the 911 operator or dispatcher wants to accomplish, and we take that for granted. Again, we say thank you to Nicole White. Darnell Davis is a correction officer. So that means you go to work in a prison.
Yeah, pretty much. I work in the detention unit at 8th and Race. It's not exactly a prison. We detain prisoners for approximately 20 hours, and they're sent off, either released in their own custody or they're sent off to the prison.
So when somebody's under arrest, they come in?
Yeah, when someone gets first locked up in the city of Philadelphia, they come down to the roundhouse. And that's where I work, this 8th and Race. There's about 72 correctional officers there. I've been there for 20 years. It's a very dangerous job. We take them from arrest to arraignment, where police officers have prisoners for about a half hour to an hour. I mean, we deal with them from 14 to 20 hours on the average. Most of the prisoners we get from all walks of life. We get from retail theft to murder, and we have to deal with each one as if they will hurt either one of us at any time.
How do you do that? How do you deal with an individual who's been arrested for whatever crime that it is? And I know there's a severity there, Darnell, that perhaps creates it's a differentiator based on the crime. But still, you as an individual have to be. Are you a chameleon to the individual? Are you the same Darnell Davis every single time? Tell me about it.
Yeah, I think my family would say I changed since I've worked there. We get a little tougher. There's a lot of women that work there, and they have, they have to get tough. You have to put, like you said, be a chameleon and put on a different face for the atmosphere that's in there. The job is dangerous. We've had COs hurt. We have COs, thank God, not die, but we have COs close to death. We have COs get strangled, and prisoners, when they think their life is on the line, you don't know what they're going to do.
Frank, I want to bring you into the conversation, and I appreciate you staying with me for the whole hour here in studio, because you put a different perspective on it, because you get, again, you have the interaction and you get an opportunity to see all the good and all the bad that goes along with it.
All the good and all the bad. Another amazing group of people. Safety. Darnell talked about. They're getting people right off the street. We know with the drug epidemic out there, the condition their minds in, what they have in their pockets,
right?
Unstable, but they do a fabulous job. And again, the union's always concerned about safety and staffing levels, about a correction officer, more than one correction officer being there for his brother and sister, because something can go wrong at the drop of a hat, and it could be too late. Somebody could be seriously injured. Me and Darnell, just 2 months ago, we had to run up to Hahnemann Hospital on a Friday night. We got a call, a correction officer got choked out, and we got caught, and we had to go up there, and it's hard going up there to see a gentleman with his family there. Thank God he was all right, but something like that could go much worse.
How does that work, Donna? How does that happen, that situation that Frank just referenced?
Well, we're dealing with dangerous people, and this particular gentleman, he had got a bill that he didn't like, and he took it out on the correctional officer, and that happens more often than not. We try to be safe down there. We try to look out for each other, but like Frank mentioned, the staffing levels have to stay strong, and everybody have to be alert every second, and that's what we have to do to survive down there. Like I said, there's a lot of women work there. We get all the women from the city. We get all the DUIs from the city, and if someone's under the influence of heroin or even alcohol, they're dangerous. People come in with hypodermic needles, and we have to search them. And they supposed to have been searched outside in the street with the police officer, but by the time they get to us, we find guns, we find knives, we find hypodermic needles, and we have to watch our back every second.
Take me through the process when an individual is handed off to you as a correction officer.
Okay. When they first come in, they're searched thoroughly. There's usually 2 or 3 officers there to assist with the search. They're processed. They go to a medical screening once they're searched, and they're entered the unit. From there, they get fingerprinted and photographed, and they get their property taken from them. And from there, they get housed in a cell. And that could be until they see arraignment. When they got to go through an interview process where they ask them. We have to handle. This is all hands on. This is one CO to 2 or 3, up to 10 prisoners at a time. So this is all hands on. The prisoners, we have no weapons. We have no weapons at all. We have to defend ourselves with our bare hands. So and once they get interviewed and they see the judge or the arraignment, the magistrate, they either get sent home, released on your own recognizance or some way, or they go to a prison, either a state prison, county prison, and so on.
And while they're before that step, before they get to that point, they're under your supervision. Is that the correct way to say it?
They're locked in a cell. Usually 2 or 3 prisoners are locked in a cell. There's 45 cells down there. So we on average, we take 19,000 prisoners go through this process in our unit on average per year. 19,000.
Wow.
You could be, any one of them can hurt you. Any one of them can ruin your life, and we try to protect ourselves at all costs. And it's strange to us because we work under the police department, so our management is all police officers or police corporals, police sergeants, and they change every couple of years. So usually, a person like me, myself, who's been here 20 years, you'll get an officer who just made corporal or just made sergeant, and they come down there and they think they know more than you. Who they may half your age and only been on the job 5 years, but they made rank. But they think they know better than you, so they change things up, and it's not always for the good. So we have to deal with that also.
How concerned is your wife when you leave the house in the morning?
Well, I'm not married at the time, but
okay. How concerned is your family?
Well, I think they know I've been here 20 years. I think I can handle myself. But my mother always tells me, I pray for you, every day to make sure you come home safe. So long as she keep praying for me, I think I'll be okay. And
Darnell Davis joining us here in the studio. Darnell is a correction officer. He goes to work in dangerous conditions, I would say, Frank. He's also a secretary and treasurer of Local 1637. But the magnitude or the severity of doing that on a daily basis, to me, would appear to be almost something I'm not
couldn't
sure
do it. Yeah, I couldn't do it. I mean, Darnell talked about they have no batons, no tasers, no pepper spray. This is you got to be on point the whole time you're in there.
I mean, is this self-protection literally, Darnell?
Yes.
By your hands?
Yes, exactly.
And your ability to defend yourself?
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Now, what are your tools to defend yourself?
Well, we go through training, but not a lot. We recently have been going through training, self-defense tactics and stuff like that. We use the use of force continuum. It depends on what the person is doing. If someone, is trying to, someone's trying to hurt you or kill you, you have to save your life by all means. So you do what you have to do.
And that's not always that's not always the case with the management there.
Right.
I mean, you're being choked out. It's all bets are off. There comes to a point where the use of force continuum,
right,
in our opinion, the union's opinion, gets thrown out the window, and it's survival of the fittest at that point.
Exactly.
How hot does it get, Darnell?
Oh, very hot.
I mean, 19,000 people coming through there in a 12-month period that's a big number.
Yeah, I think all my correctional officer friends would say that it's a psych ward down there at sometimes, especially with a lot of the people that are on these drugs right now. A lot of the psychiatric clinics are closed, and people are not getting their medicine like they should. So what police officers do, if they have a problem, they send them down there to us, and we have to deal with them for them hours. And sometimes it takes some of them people 48 hours to calm down. So they throw feces, they try to piss on you, they try to spit on you. So you have to deal with all type of that. All type of things.
Do you have trouble decompressing when when your shift is over?
Sometimes, yes, you can. If it's a stressful day, you have to go home and decompress and try to get yourself together, and then you have to come back tomorrow and do the same thing. So it is a stressful job.
Is your job 5 days, 5 straight days, and then 2 days off? How does it work?
Yeah, it's usually 5 straight on, 5 on, 2 off, 4 on, 2 off. like we do the police radio schedule, that civilian schedule that we have.
Darnell Davis, a correction officer, with us in studio, going to work every day in dangerous conditions. And I appreciate you being here in the studio. A look inside what it's like to be a correction officer down at the Roundhouse, if you will. We'll take our commercial break. When we come back, one more individual to introduce you to from Local 1637, Ken Giacini, is with us. Perhaps the toughest job in the city. What is it? We'll find out when we come back.
I've been coming out of step with them guys, okay? And I was a treasurer of the Democratic Party. You know, I've been a loyal Democrat my whole life. But I've told people, and it hasn't, like I told you, it just didn't resonate with this election. If you look at the last few years, I've been telling people we have to become a little bit more individual. We have to be more of our own brand. We have to do a better job at becoming a business.
Back here live on Saturday Night Live here on Talk Radio 1210. WPHT, top of the hour. Dan Loney will be along. 8 o'clock, take you into the night right here on 1210 WPHT. Special thanks to Nicole White and then also Darnell Davis in our last segment. Gave us a look inside the world of what it is to be a correction officer. And Frank, before I bring Ken Giacini into the conversation, I just want to get one last thought from you, about Darnell's position as a correction officer. To me, and I want the listening audience to understand how difficult it is, how challenging it can be in the heat of the moment when someone's in a position or someone's in that type of condition, to have to be able to restrain them or to be able to protect themselves. Not easy at all.
Not easy at all, Joe. Again, Darnell's got 20 years in. It takes time to learn these jobs. And again, you can't go too far because management's waiting there for you. If you went too far with an excessive force claim or what have you, you got to have your head on straight. Again, you just got to be on point. You have to have another correction officer looking out for each other. The true idea of solidarity in reality, brothers and sisters watching each other's backs.
Exactly.
Good stuff, Darnell Davis. Thank you very much. Our final guest in studio tonight, our final introduction, is Ken Giacini, is joining us. Ken is he's an executive board member with Local 1637, but he has the what I think perhaps could be one of the toughest jobs in the city of Philadelphia. What is it? What do you think it is? The job is a ticket writer. And your job specifically, Ken, on a daily basis is to do what?
Joe, I'm a parking enforcement officer. Thank you for having me on tonight. And our job is to enforce the laws as they on street in Philadelphia as far as parking goes, in order to keep the parking moving so people could come into the city and shop and leave. And if there's emergencies in the city, we want to have make it able for fire engines to turn a corner and ensure the safety of people by keeping our traffic moving in the city.
Are you on foot on a daily basis, Ken?
I'm actually have a large area. I go from Broad Street to 27th, from Market to South Street. So I have a driving beat that I work early mornings at 6:30 until 2:30 in the afternoon. So I'm the first unit out on the street in the morning in the 9th District, and I see whatever was left over from the night before and, how the morning's going to start in the city.
What's the difference between what's left over and what's the beginning of the day?
People at night, parking's pretty limited in Philadelphia. There's residential areas that we work in. There's commercial areas, and people come home at night. There might not be a space for their car, and we have to make a decision, to go by the law and enforce areas where people believe that they should be able to park at. But if there's a fire in the house next door, you can end up with the whole block on fire. So there's a fine line that we deal with on a daily basis as far as enforcement goes.
When you make a decision that someone's in error or someone's wrong, you've got to write a ticket.
That's correct. And nobody likes to get a ticket. And
So take me through that process of you're writing a ticket for someone who's parked illegally or who is in an area where they're not supposed to be, and the individual sees you writing that ticket. That's not something that they thank you for, I would imagine. That's where the difficulty comes in.
Joe, for that, you'll have to see my episode on Parking Wars, episode 25 in the second season. But this happens. It's common that, you'll be writing a ticket. You know it's going to happen. As soon as you put that last letter in the tag in, somebody's going to come up to you and say, I'm getting ready to move. And it's too late by then. And, see, I have to be a salesman at that point, in order not to be assaulted or abused. I have to come up. I have to be a quick thinker, because it's not all about being a tough guy and saying you were parked wrong. This is the violation. Here's your ticket. Have a nice day. You don't want to. People are already upset. Okay, this money's coming directly out of their checking account within 15 days. And
how sympathetic? How sympathetic do you have to be, Ken? I imagine you've got a soft side to you.
There's a sympathy that could get you in trouble, and there's sympathy that can work. So you'll know that, with the experience that you have. I've been on street for over 17, in my 17th year now with the parking authority. So I've been on the third page of the Daily News with a bloody nose and a black eye, and I've been had commendations for my work. So from soup to nuts, it's all about the experience that you have on the street that you could deal with the job of this type on a daily basis.
Frank?
Kenny, just like Nicole and Darnell have all talked about experience. Experiences on these jobs that be the professionals they have became. But it takes a while to get to that point. It's easy to make a mistake, and one mistake can hurt you or get somebody hurt in all three of these positions. As far as writing tickets, we got to remember that writing a ticket for someone in a towaway zone, you are taking someone's second biggest possession. Besides, their house is number one, their car is number two. So a lot of these tickets, them cars are being towed. People cannot afford to have their second biggest possession taken away from them, and they're angry. And I guess some of them rightfully so. They ran into a store, and the next thing they know, their car's gone. So, again, I have visited over the years, ticket writers in the hospital. Same thing. Ticket writers get involved, get hit in the head with a brick. You got to be on point all 8 hours.
Ken, do people flat out lie to you to try and get out of that ticket, or can you tell when somebody's telling the truth?
Well, you kind of get used to your area and your job, so you do know when they're lying or not. I mean, I've seen people put tickets, on their cars from the night before or a week before, and thinking that you won't notice it. But if you're in a certain place every day for a period of time, you're the only one that would enforce that block or that area that time in the morning. People come up with all types of stories. The other guy just went by and said I could park there. And, when I've heard that before, I've seen people that were, maybe they're helping somebody that's mobily impaired to get in a house. And as the enforcement officer, rather than give them the ticket, I'll say, look, if you're going to walk somebody in the house, I'll stay here with the car. So I know that I'm not somebody that's going to say, you're okay there and leave, right? I'm going to stay on location, and if I could be of assistance, I will be,
What do you like about, what's the one thing that you like most, Ken Giacini, about doing what you do? 17 years is a lot of time. We're at 7. Nicole's going to reach 17. Darnell's doing 20. You're in the same space. 17 years, long time.
Right. I like the freedom of being outside during the day, being on my own, kind of having a responsibility that I deal with. I get sworn in as an officer, to uphold the law, to work with integrity, and I believe in that. And no matter what buttons that I have pushed on a daily basis, I still, keep that job and work with integrity. As far as what I like about it, I mean, the hundreds or thousands of people that I've met over the years, different occupations, the nice weather, the cold winters.
The hundreds of thousands of people, are they the hundreds of thousands that you've given tickets to, or just people you meet along the street?
You never know who you're going to give a ticket to. I mean, I've had my neighbors walk up to me and I'm handing them a ticket. I had a friend of mine that has a truck, and he was parked in a passenger loading zone where only cars are allowed. He got out the driver's seat to look at the sign and went around the back of his truck. I came around the front of the truck and wrote him the ticket. He comes around to the side. Ken, I can't believe it. I said, there's nothing I could do, Sal. I said, it's a truck in the passenger. This guy lives 2 blocks from me. It's a truck in the passenger loading zone. And I'll tell you what, he hasn't talked to me. It's about 12 years now.
He has, or he has not?
Over $31. No, he hasn't. But that's the kind of stuff that could happen on a daily basis. You get used to it. The thing that I'm looking forward to is I'm wondering when I retire if it'll take me, I'm thinking about 2 years to put a smile back on my face during that time of the day.
Last question for you before I come to Frank to wrap up the hour. Have you personally ever received a ticket?
Absolutely. I've received a ticket, and when we do receive a ticket, we have to notify our administration, and they'll set up the hearing for us. We'll go fight it, and even if we're right, we're wrong.
Ken Giacini, joining us and closing it out.
Thank you, Joe.
Today on Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor. Hope you enjoyed a look inside Local 1637. Darnell Davis goes to work every day at the Roundhouse and protects himself with his bare hands. Nicole White has an incredible amount of pressure on her on a daily basis. And Ken Giacini, who I now know is featured on in episode number 25, I guess it is. I'll look at that tonight. Second season. I'll be sure to do that. And I will look to avoid you on Broad Street when I make my way down. Thank you so much. Frank, I think we have, a minute or two? How much time do we have? Just a minute, Frank, before we say goodbye. I just want to give you an opportunity I want to say thank you for coming in and then just give you 30 seconds to either salute or support all of your members of 1637.
Joe, on behalf of everyone in Local 1637, everyone sitting here, we want to thank you for having us. And to the members of 1637, we're proud of the job you do. We take this job seriously, your representation. As you can see here, you got 3 people here that these jobs are serious jobs. And what I'm sitting here listening is, you got 3 people doing social work here. Social work with on-the-job degrees. And again, we have 911 dispatchers in the fire department. I sit with them, do a fabulous job across this local. Fabulous job. Kudos to the public sector workers. You don't get enough credit. Well done and well said from Frank Halbherr, the president of DC 33, Local 1637. That's going to do it for Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor right here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Stick around. Dan Loney will take you into the night. On behalf of Darnell, Nicole, Ken, and Frank, and J-Doc, who's listening at Lankenau Hospital tonight, I'm Joe Kraus. See you next time, everybody.
This program is a paid commercial announcement and in no way represents the views of WPHT or its management.